evening. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. My name is Leah, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Fayetteville Public Library, and welcome to those watching through live stream as well. Before you leave today, please take a moment to fill out the evaluations that we left for you. Those help us to plan for future programs. And speaking of future programs, I hope you'll join us in this space tomorrow night for an evening with Nick Stone. Nick Stone burst onto the literary scene with her debut novel, Dear Martin, which quickly became a New York Times bestseller and earned widespread acclaim for its candid exploration of race relations in America. That event is tomorrow at 6 o'clock in this space. And these events are part of the True Lit Literary Festival. True Lit is in collaboration with the Fayetteville Public Library, the Fayetteville Public Schools, the Fayetteville Public Education Foundation, and the University of Arkansas program in creative writing and translation. And the festival runs through Friday, and we have a full calendar of events at the back of the room. I am so delighted to have Jalissa Carter with us today. Jalissa is a short story author, novelist, and poetess. Her debut novel, Testimonial Tales and Females, marked her entrance as an indie author. When not writing, Jalissa enjoys being a digital nomad and coordinator alongside her husband. She resides in a charming mountain town in Northwest Arkansas with her husband, their beautiful daughters, and pet fish. Please join me in welcoming her.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Leah, for that introduction. And thank you to the Fayetteville Library and collaborators for this event today. How is everyone doing today? That's good. So I'm Jalissa. I'm a self-published author, and I have 5 published books under my name. And I would like to break the ice a little bit to kind of get to know everyone in the room with us today. So I would like for you all to one by one stand and tell me what brought you here today, what sparked your curiosity about self-publishing. So let's start from the first row with you, ma'am, if you don't mind.
So you said name and...
Name and what sparked your interest in self-publishing.
Okay, so yeah, being put on the spot just made my brain go, whoop. I'm Hannah. I'm here. I've been going to all of the True Lit events, really just to dabble in this world. And I wanted to learn about this specifically, so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Brother Sheffield. I wrote a novel about an event that happened when I was a teenager, and so now I'm in the stage of trying to finish it up and get it put out. So I'll be going to these events to try to figure out how to get that brought out to the media and sold and get that story out there.
Thank you.
I'm Dustin Staggs. I write for the Democrat Gazette, and so I saw this event on our calendar. And yeah, I mostly do, I'm a features writer for the Democrat Gazette, but definitely want to learn how to eventually move into self-publishing and doing some more like fiction work. So yeah, I was interested in that.
Perfect, thank you.
I'm David. I write poetry, and I just want to find a way to give that to other people also. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you for sharing.
Well, I'm Jim Hammonds, retired. I wrote a lot when I was a professor, and now I've kind of gotten into writing for the newspaper, all because of one individual, Trump.
Thank you for sharing.
My name is Nicole Hood. I'm a food blogger, and I've had a blog for about 12 years now, and I have about 1,400 posts. So I really want to put that into a cookbook finally. So I'm just learning about that.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Angela Johnson. I'm a self-published author, and I help run a writing group in Prairie Grove. So I'm seeing if you have any new information that I can take back to them.
Nice, thank you for coming.
I'm Tiana, and I've got a couple works in progresses, so I'm just trying to figure out what the next step is.
Thank you. So we have someone on this end start. Yeah, thank you.
I'm Martha. I am actually a teacher
to explore creative writing more and have a novel in the progress in the works, so just wanted to get more information on where to go with that.
Thank you for sharing.
Hi, I'm Stephanie James, and in the past I've written poetry as well, and so I'm just interested in learning a little bit more about how to self-publish and get myself out there.
Thank you for sharing. All right, well, we're going to get started. Oh, yes, ma'am.
May I add one more thing?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
anybody that's in the Fayetteville area, we do have a writers group at Pearls that meets the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. So take whatever information you get here, but if you ever want to come to a critique group or join another group of writers, we're there at the second and fourth Tuesday of every month at Pearls at 6:30.
Is that the Beagle, Arkansas?
Mhm.
Yeah, the Pearls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super excited for you all to be here. Thank you all for sharing that you are aspiring authors and that you're writers currently as well. And I think that we're going to all be able to inspire one another and motivate one another. We're going to be very interactive today because I want us all to kind of dive in and get ready, a head start on our self-publishing journey together, okay? So my very first time getting inspired as a self-published author is there was one lady from my hometown who published her own book. And she was from my hometown. I decided to kind of reach out to her to kind of get an idea of how to self-publish a book. So I said, congratulations, and I ordered your book, and how did you publish that book? You know, like, did you go through a traditional publishing house? And so she just said that she published the book herself. And so today we are going to pretty much kind of go through the routes of how to self-publish a book today. So why should we self-publish? Why is that an attractive option? We are going to read these bulletin points together. And the first one is creative control. Creative control, everyone. Creative control, yes. Higher royalties, faster publication, full distribution control. So you see now you're able to kind of verbalize what self-publishing is, why you should self-publish. And we're going to kind of go through and talk about steps to self-publishing. So the first step is write and edit your book. Prepare your book for publication. Publish and distribute your book. So with each of these steps, we're going to dive more deeper into the steps and kind of have some more interactive moments, some more activities that we can all do together. Write and edit your book. So some of you already mentioned that you are already a self-published author, and some of you mentioned that you want to get your cookbook started, and some of you want to do poetry. So the first thing you do is write your manuscript. And as the young lady here mentioned, so she has a critique group. So you are wanting to be encouraged to join some writer groups so that where you can have a head start on writing your book. And one other thing is online, there is National Novel Writing Month that starts in November. So if you're inclined to join something like that, if you feel like you want to be online, that is an idea. You want to get beta readers, feedback. So a beta reader can be your family, your friends, your colleagues, people you go to school with, and the last step would be finalizing your manuscript. So you're able to do that, going to a critique group, joining online with a writers group, and such things like that will help you get to the part of having a manuscript. Prepare your book for publication. So on this part, you are wanting to format your book, design your cover, convert your file to publishing formats, obtain an ISBN. So formatting your book for ebook and print on demand. And so I know that one person said that they had already published a book. And so can you kind of elaborate a little bit for the audience on how that experience was for you?
Sure. So the first book that I published, I started out just doing Microsoft Word and Google Documents because it was a free option. And anybody that's getting started on their first one, that's what I recommend. Google Docs is really good to be able to share your document with your editor, if you have alpha readers, those are people that are going through the writing process with you once I got that book done, once I started doing more books, I bought software. So there's a whole bunch of free software that's out there, but then there's also paid software. I'm a Mac user, so I use Vellum. And why I like writing in Vellum is because I can not only write in Vellum, but I can format my entire ebook and print-on-demand book in Vellum. And it'll generate all the files I need for all the different platforms of ebook and as print document. You just change your trim size, your spacing, whatever, for whatever place you're going to upload it in, and it puts out a really great product. Now, if you're looking for something that has more artistic product, and you can control the different elements that you put into it, Adobe InDesign does that. It's harder to use, but watch your tutorials and you'll figure it out.
Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, so we have different ways of formatting your book. As she said, she used Vellum, and then you can also, if you don't want to do that part, you want to skip it and have someone do it for you, you can hire someone to do that part for you. Same as designing your cover. You can go to Canva, which is how I created this slide, and have someone design it. You can design it yourself, do a DIY, or you can hire someone to design it for you. So a lot of these steps are super essential for self-publishing your book, and it's a fantastic way to be on that process, making sure that you follow it step by step. Publish and distribute your book. So on this section, you have the option to decide whether you want to use KDP, which is what I use personally. You can use Lulu, Smashwords, and on those different platforms, you're able to upload your manuscript yourself and your cover. And you're able to set your book price and royalty rate, publish and promote your book. So I want to kind of elaborate a little bit about the publish and promote your book section, because that's like a super important part, because you know you can have a book and nobody will even know that book exists because you are not sharing it with anyone. So you can have your book promotion done on social media, or you can have a book promotion done with like a table set up at a library or bookstore and kind of have your own little book signing. But it's super important to publish and promote your book and kind of share it with the world so that no one can be like not familiar with what you have published. So yeah, we're gonna go to our next slide.
Can I just add something to that?
Yes, ma'am.
So for the local bookstores, if you don't have your book on Ingram Spark, which is, there's only one place in the United States that can supply to libraries and bookstores, it's Ingram Spark. Libraries and bookstores don't get their products from Amazon or any of the other print-on-demand services. They get it directly from Ingram. So you have to put it there if you want to do it in a bookstore. Some bookstores will let you bring in your own merchandise with you to do it, but they prefer to order it from Ingram to have it on stock before you do a signing there.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on what you said, and sometimes when you are wanting to put your book inside of a library, they may require you to have your own ISBN number, and that's the same thing with going to like Barnes & Noble. They would prefer you to have your own ISBN, because Kindle, Amazon will provide that for you for free, but you will be encouraged to get your own ISBN. So again, marketing your book using platforms such as social media. So one of the things, like when I had started self-publishing a book, was me having to kind of research and figure it out on my own, because like I said, when I had called that individual and asked her how she got her book published, and she was just like herself and was very vague with her answer, I had to go and do my research and go online to figure out how to get my book out there. So I joined a bunch of Facebook groups, writers groups, and then I created my author page to kind of establish myself and let people know that I am an author, because no one's going to know that if you're just at home and keeping it to yourself. We have to share those gifts with other people and share that information with other people. And so once you get your book together, you're wanting to pretty much kind of encourage people to leave a review. So that way it will build your credibility. They see that you are a author who is serious and who has a readership, a good fan base. And so you are wanting to also build an email list to keep in touch with your audience. A quick story I wanted to share is when I was younger and I had started writing my book, I was writing in high school. And I remember just having my little notebook, writing my own stories, and I would share with my classmates. And they would encourage me and say, girl, you need to publish this book. It's so good. And at that time, I wasn't, thinking that I was going to become a published author, because it was just something I did. It was my way of just expressing myself as my creative outlet. And then fast forward to today, I self-published a book, and I made sure to tag those people and say, hey, I actually did it. And they would support me. They take a picture with their copy of the book and send it to me. And it's just really important to make sure that you acknowledge those people who were supportive to you at the very beginning. So on this portion of the slide, I wanted to do another activity with you all. Okay, so first we want to kind of do a quick recap. The first thing that we do in our self-publishing journey is, can I get a hand raised? What's the first thing we're going to do? Someone already done it, but you're already a published author, yes?
Write it.
Yes, first thing you're going to do is write it. And then what is the next thing we do after we write that book? Edit, yes. So we write it, we edit it, and then the next step would be, yes, you, the red shirt. Publish it. Very good. And so after we write and edit our book, we're going to also design a book cover, right? And we're going to also, what else we're going to do? Let's kind of see if we remember. I know we went a little bit fast through it, but we're going to kind of see how much everyone is kind of market, yes. And what else are we going to do? We're going to market it, and we're going to make sure that we establish ourselves as an author, make sure we make a author page. So I want to kind of go through another activity with you all, which is sell me this book. And I'm going to do a demonstration because I know that some of you have said that y'all already made a book, and some of you have blogs that you want to kind of make into a cookbook, and some of you are writers for a newspaper. And so I want to kind of allow you all to have an exercise where you kind of come up here and you stand in front of here and you say, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I have a book, a cookbook, and it talks about lasagnas. And so you're going to have like 30 seconds to kind of sell that book to the audience. All right, are y'all interested in participating? I know this is kind of nerve-wracking, but this is my first time actually delivering a presentation. And so it's like really important to kind of get out of our comfort zone. You understand?
Like an elevator speech?
Kind of like an elevator speech, yes. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do a quick demonstration. And someone can put 30 seconds on their phone for me. And let me know when that 30 seconds starts, and I will pitch a book real quick.
I got it on my watch. Go ahead.
Thank you. All right, hello. My name is Jaleesa Carter, and I have a book about dogs. And the dogs are dogs that need training. It teaches the dogs how to do pets, roll over, do tricks, know how to be still, go to sleep, eat their snacks. This book is perfect, y'all. Y'all should come and get this book, and your pets will love it. So that is my pitch for you for a random book about dogs.
30 seconds.
Thank you. All right, so who is next? Can I get a volunteer? Okay, you can come. Yes, you.
Okay. It's about a journal I have. It's a journal about my vacation. There's some true things and also some other fake things. Like, for example, on the fake side, I had this dream about going to this crazy circus on chapter 8 or 9. And on the true side, I went to, what was it? Oh, Fiji, I think. Maybe not. I don't exactly remember. Maybe not. Actually, on the fake side, not.
Everyone give him a hand. Very good. All right, can we have another volunteer? Thank you. Yes, come right up.
Hi. So when I was 17, a pretty crazy, some crazy things happened in my life. And I didn't really realize it until years later. And so I wrote a book about it. And so if you really want to hear a crazy story, a true story that's really creepy, but it's true, I highly suggest you read this story.
Very good. Give him a hand. Can I get one more volunteer? Any other volunteer? Okay, let's go.
Hi, my name is Jerome Carter, and I have it's a comic book that I want to publish. If you like Dragon Ball Z or Demon Slayer, sort of like on that style. It's something I've been thinking about since I was a kid, and it's in the works. So if y'all want to check that out one day, it should be awesome.
Are you the artist?
Yes, I'm the artist. Yeah. And hopefully soon it turns into something big. That's the plan. Thank you.
Give him a hand. Thank you all for participating. So, you felt good being able to kind of sell your book, right? Finally having that moment to, hey, this is my book, let me get out there and sell it. So I want to kind of dive into another storytelling for you all. And I just want to let you know that publishing a book is not going to always be a beautiful experience. So it's going to have some ugly moments too. You're going to feel like, oh, I'm a failure. This is not working. Maybe this is not for me. But I want to show you all some embarrassing books of mine. When I first published my first book, this came out in the wrong size, came out in the magazine size. And with myself having a personal struggle with dyscalculia, which is a struggle with numbers, I had the numbers all wrong for this. But this is my very first book, Testimonial Tales in Females, and I actually designed the cover myself using Canva. And this would be my second try at it, and I was like, okay, finally, it's in the right size, the right format. I actually put all the manuscript inside and formatted the book myself. And I did my own picture, did a selfie with my phone to complete the book cover and did the blurb. Can anyone kind of share with me their favorite book? Do you have a favorite book, anyone? A favorite book? I'm sure if we're writers and authors aspiring to be authors, yes, what's your favorite book?
Oh, actually, Captain Underpants. It's actually a pretty good book series.
Captain Underpants. That's a good book. My daughters actually love to read that book.
I'm trying to write a comic book.
That's awesome. So when I was creating my book, I was inspired by one of my favorite authors who does books about fiction, women's fiction books. And so I was like, well, let me try to kind of get some inspiration from her. And I designed my book cover using Canva. And it was nice a little bit, but as I did my research as an author, you kind of want to brand yourself, you kind of want to have a certain idea how you want your books to be a reflection of your personality. And so the final look for this book is this, Testimonial Tales in Females. It is a book cover that was created by a graphic designer because myself, I struggle with that cover, and it was looking a bit DIY-ish, you know. So I decided to just go ahead and allow someone to kind of be a part of this project, this self-publishing book. And I want to kind of go through with you all a bit about my self-publishing journey, if you guys won't mind me sharing. So, my personal experience, my book, Testimony Tells in Females, my very first book, My Pride and Joy. I actually started this book years ago before I established myself as an author. I did a stage play to kind of represent some of the characters in this story, to kind of get an idea if people would be interested in this story. And I had a pretty good experience. A lot of people came and appreciated the story, and I decided, hey, it's a demand for this story and confirmation that I should write this into a book. And so this would be just some reviews I would like to share that this book received from some friends and some fellow writers as well. So as you all see, I had actually went to, I'm sorry, let me see how to get to the next slide. So I actually had decided to make a video with all the reviews of all the readers who purchased the book and decided to share their feedback. And that promotional video actually helped attract more readers. I shared it to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and as you saw, on YouTube. And so it showed to me that this career journey that I decided to kind of embark on is very good for myself. And so I truly enjoy being a self-published author. So these are some of the books that I have published. As you see, Testimony Tells in Females. And then I published Lipsody, which is a sequel to Testimony Tells in Females. I also decided to dabble in some poetry. So Poetic Lee is a poetry book. And Comical Love is a nonfiction book about my love life. And I want to share with you all how, as a self-publisher, you may want to genre hop like me, or you may want to decide to stick to just doing poetry, or decide to stick to doing cookbooks. But it's a journey. It's your journey. It's super different from doing traditional publishing, where you kind of have to stick by the contract that you decide to sign on. And so I'm going to go ahead and kind of allow you all to learn more about the first book, the second book, and so forth. And we just want to keep talking about it. So the first book, Testimony Tells in Females, talking about different ladies who were having, you know, how we have our friends who kind of talk to about things that's going on in our life, about our relationship problems or any type of problem. We kind of share that with our girlfriends. And this is what this book was about. And I think that it was a very good start for my self-publishing journey. And then Lipsody was a sequel to that book. And one of the main characters of Testimony Tells in Females ended up having to deal with a vicious, wicked villainess who was after her husband. And so this was a very fun book that I got to write. The reason for this book is because on my social media there was a lot of people requesting a part 2 to Testimony Tells in Females. And so I said, well, I guess I will try to come up with something different and fun. And we did Lipsody, and it's one of my favorites. And it was published in 2022. Comical Love. So as I said earlier, for myself as a self-publishing author, I write books based on what I've experienced and also the phase that I'm experiencing in my life. And so this book is based on my love life. And the inspiration behind it, my husband and I, we tried to promote healthy marriages, healthy relationships. And so that's why this book was released. And it did very well as well. And Poetically is a poetry book, embracing mental health. So, you know, we all have our dark moments in our life where we kind of, you know, we have writer's block too during those dark moments. And so writing is a super creative outlet for me to kind of help me get out of that dark space. And so I decided to write a few poetries to kind of express that. And it's one of my favorite books as well, because it's something that is letting people know who I am as an author, to kind of get a general idea of me as a person. And so Poetic Rosé. So today, in 2024, I am exploring wines. It started off as a hobby, and now I decided that I want to kind of allow it to be a part of my self-publishing journey. And so this is just a wine journal, and you will see like a display over here where I created some wine journals. And because I spend a lot of time wine tasting, and I was like, well, I want to make my own wine journal to kind of jot down some tasting notes and also kind of jot down some experiences that I have when I go to these different wine bars and vineyards. So this is the start of me as a rebrand author. I've decided to kind of rebrand myself. And speaking of rebranding, I would like to kind of get a general idea of who are you going to be as a self-published author? Are you going to be a mystery novelist? Are you going to be a women fiction author, a cookbook author, or are you going to explore different genres? Can I open the floor and have some people share with me what book they're going to release or what genre? Yes, ma'am.
I genre hop, so I do a lot of the subcategories within romance, whether it be contemporary, dark, paranormal, or spicy. And then I also write adult Celtic fantasy, which is very niche, so there's not a lot of readers on that front, but usually some people trickle over from my romance stuff. But they're two separate imprints, because normally who reads this type of book is not the same people that are going to like this type of book, but sometimes you get some bleed over, but very rarely.
Yeah, and so I remember, since you mentioned Celtic, when I was writing Lipsody, I have music that I listened to, and it was Irish music because the main character, she had Irish in her background, her ancestries, and so I find that even listening to music helps you with your book writing. Anyone else want to share what genre they're? Yes, sir.
Mine is like, what's that word? Comedy. A little bit. So there's this character named Mostly Sunny, which was inspired from the board I saw like while I was in this writing camp. I saw this Mostly Sunny, and I got the idea of making his name, and also Mostly Sunny Jr.
Thank you for sharing. And so, any other inspiring authors or writers? Yes, ma'am.
I'm kind of writing this new like subgenre of fantasy called cozy fantasy. If you've ever read it, and it's about like found family, and there's some romance in there oftentimes. So just trying to explore that.
Yeah, I love it. I actually decided to get into romance because at the time when I was going through a time in my life where I met my husband, and I kind of was into that. That was my life. You know, romance was my life, so I decided to kind of write in that genre. Anyone else want to share?
I write exclusively haiku poetry, which is super niche also, and it's definitely a very hard thing to market in that regard. But I want to stick to that niche for sure.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's very great about self-publishing. We have creative control, as what we said earlier. You don't have to stick to a certain genre. We're able to reach that target audience that we are wanting to kind of reach with the books that we want to write, you know. So with traditional publishing, you don't have that same freeway. You have to kind of figure out what is best for them, what they feel like their target audience is, because that's who you're working for. But with self-publishing, you're working for yourself. Anyone else want to share?
first. You can go ahead.
Oh, I wasn't saying anything.
No, somebody.
I also write cozy fantasy short stories, and also I have a manuscript in editing for dark fantasy.
Nice.
Nice, thank you. And you, sir?
And mine was kind of a question answer. When I was younger, I liked writing like paranormal romances. But things happen in life, and you start changing and stuff. So like my two books that first one that I finished, the next one I'm working on. I don't know if there's like a mind bending genre, but that's kind of, I feel like it would kind of fit in that.
Maybe
Like sci-fi?
Psychological, whether it be like
Maybe psychological.
psychological thriller or something like that.
Kind of,
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds like a book I would read, actually. Anyone else want to share? Yes, ma'am.
I'm kind of in the middle of, I grew up writing poetry, but I had some pretty turmoil things happen with my family, so I'm kind of getting into the part where I am writing more like in the personal essay realm, and kind of don't know exactly where I fit in with that. I just know it's like personal, and it's about my experience and what I'm doing to like grow in it.
Yeah.
So,
So a lot of times whenever you're starting your writing and you kind of want to find out who your target audience is, you're able to kind of, whichever social media platform you like to use, you're able to kind of tweet it if you're on Twitter, or share it on Instagram, and those people kind of flock to your Instagram post or Twitter post, and you'll kind of figure out, oh, I have an audience here. If not, then you're able to join some Facebook groups and kind of like, hey, I'm writing this certain book, and is this interest to anyone here? And some people will give you feedback, and you'll be able to find your tribe, your reader tribe, in that way. Anyone else want to share? All right, so we are going to move on. And so, as I was saying earlier, we are able to genre hop. And I started off writing fiction, and then I dabbled in some nonfiction, some poetry, and now I'm dabbling into wine. And, whenever you decide to kind of explore a new genre, you have to research that genre. You have to experience that genre, and you can't just kind of just write just to be writing. I remember collaborating with some writers and also working with some writers. And one particular author told me that he don't read books. A lot of times we have to read books to kind of gain inspiration and kind of understand how to write a book and perfect it, right? So I feel that, we're able to genre hop, and we're able to research those genres, so that way we can be able to express it in the right way so that our readers will appreciate it. And so as I transition into being a wine author, I have a book that will be released in October of this month, 24th of this month. And me and my husband, we have a wedding business, and it's called Wedlope. So that's what this book is based upon. And it's for weddings and elopements. We officiated some elopements and some small weddings. And so I kind of collaborated the wine that I'm interested in now to kind of coexist with the wedding business that I have. And so this book will be talking about different poems that are wine related, and it will be perfect for your wedding goers or people who are engaged to be married. And so that would be the end of this self-publishing speech, but I would like to open the floor to any questions, Q&As. You can share with me some things that stuck out to you today. So let's get some questions, or you can share. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if this is too personal, but I was wondering about the expenses of self-publishing and what that would be like, and like what we could expect. Sorry.
Yeah, so for me, when I had first published these, as you see, I decided to try to first do it for free, right? I was like, well, I'm going to go to Canva, because that's a free platform, design my book, and I'm going to write it and edit it. I got a friend to edit it, actually, and I had published it on CreateSpace. That was the original platform that was created by KDP. But the expenses vary because it depends on your budget. You know, you're able to browse through different graphic designers. You're able to look and ask for friends to help edit your book, or edit yourself, or go through some groups on Facebook. They have some Facebook groups where you're able to ask people to kind of edit your book for you. So it depends on your budget. Like the cost to self-publish varies. It's totally up to you if you want to do it for free, and you can do it the way that I first started out. But you can say, hey, I'm going to spend this amount of money to, you know, design my book cover and edit it. Any other questions?
I have a question. About how long does it take you to write your book and decide to self-publish?
Yeah, so for me, writing a book, I'm a super laid-back person, and that's one thing I like about being a self-published author. You don't have to really have a deadline unless you want to kind of push yourself and you say, hey, you share it on Facebook or Instagram and say, hey, you guys, I have a new book coming soon, and you're like, okay, I put coming soon out there, so I have to make sure I get started right away on this book. So for me, writing a book, it could take as long as 2 months or a year, but depending on whether I give myself a deadline, it would take me about 3 or 4 months to complete a book with a deadline. But as far as with no deadline, it takes me just however long it would take, because it's just that freedom that we have as self-published authors. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Have you talked about this book anytime else? And another one is this like, this question might be too personal, but how many pages is in your next book?
How many pages are in your book typically?
Oh, so typically, so I've written short story books, I've written poetry books, and I've written nonfiction books. So for my poetry books, they usually be about like 75 pages long. And then this book here is a short novella. So it's shorter than a short story, but longer than a novel. And so this book here is about 117 pages long. And so the different, page lengths vary depending on the genre.
So like a novella is usually anything under 220 pages, and then anything over that is like a novel. And then you get into the people that like will put 3 books into one, which is like an omnibus, and those are massive. So like depending on your genre, depends on what your page count should be. So when you're deciding what genre you're writing in and whether or not you're close to the mark on that, just kind of look at a couple different articles, and it changes all the time on what the like current standard page range is. So like for me, I write in adult fantasy. It's anything from 300 pages up to, I know some people that have like 600 page books as self-published authors. Some of the bigger books are bigger than that, 785. I mean, depending on how much you like to read fantasy, you may not want to sit for 785 pages, and your content may be just way too much information for people to sift through that many pages, so you might just have to simplify it down. So it's dependent upon genre, just look at like kind of what the current standard is.
Yeah, like I said earlier, it's always important to do your research to see, whatever genre you wanted to write, how many pages is appropriate for that genre. Yes, ma'am?
Can you explain briefly, I know it's a lot, but the Amazon KDP and how that works, like with their royalties and uploading to it?
Right, so with Amazon KDP, you are able to go onto that platform and you upload your manuscript, upload the cover, and then it will take you to a page where you are able to set your own prices. And of course, Amazon does take a percentage out of that price because, you're using their platform. But that's genuinely how that works. Yeah, so it's one of the recommended for me. Like I've used before they would CreateSpace, and then they, was KDP. That's what I use. That's what I recommend because it's super, super easy. Yeah. So anyone want to share some takeaway? What you take from the self-publishing class? Let's get some feedback.
Was it free to upload your book on the
share any takeaways? Anything stood out to you all? How did you enjoy the exercise selling your book?
Yeah, I like that you made it where you stay with the audience and the audience
Interactive.
interacts with it.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I agree, because when you're putting yourself out there, you have to be prepared and ready, because you never know who's gonna ask you about what you're doing and how that might affect you. If you're prepared and ready, that may be an opportunity right there ready for you. So.
Yeah. And then, you're able to get that chance to, sell yourself, sell your work, and then you're able to kind of feel, the people's reaction, to feel how they are, receiving what you're giving out to them. So I thought that was very, something that would be very helpful for everyone. So anyone else want to share any takeaways or any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I think it's helpful to me as a reminder to research my genre and
Yes.
make sure that I'm writing something that the audience will expect. And I feel like that way it'll be easier to market as well.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. Anyone else?
I appreciate that you had us tell a little bit about each other, because I feel like a bunch of people are fantasy, the poetry, so we can connect.
Yeah, so we're able to, be inspired by one another, and we're able to kind of see that we're all a diverse group of people, readers and writers. And I thought that was, very good that you all was able to share, and you all didn't shy away. So thank you for that. All right, so anyone else?
So definitely thank you for the pitch thing also, because now I see I was miserable when I do my pitch, but now I'll go back and I'll work on that, and now next time I speak about a book, I haven't done that. So that's
Yeah, good.
Just an elevator pitch, 15 to 30 seconds. Basically, the concept is, say you just happen to get in an elevator one day and there ends up being an agent or a publisher or whomever in there, and you have those 30 seconds to try and sell them on your book. What are you going to say? What is it about? What's your plan? Where is it going? Who's your main characters? Just the key points. 30 seconds of how do you sell that person you just met who may or may not be in the publishing industry, or maybe you meet somebody that might want to have them as a reader. How do you sell them or convince them to read your work?
And would you like to share more about that critique group, so that way everybody can know about that? Because I know
Yes.
whenever I started, I did not know where to go.
Yes.
I just went online.
So I recently moved to the area. I originally lived in Oklahoma. I'm originally from Tucson. I was in the military for a number of years, just retired. And a couple years after retiring, just out of nowhere, I decided to write a book. And I would use my coworkers. I ran a pediatric clinic. And I would use my coworkers as my alpha readers. So I was going along 3 chapters at a time. I would share it with everybody. And I was like, is this any good? And they're like, yes, more, we want more. And so that's kind of the feedback you need. You need that somebody pushing you, giving you that drive, kind of feeding that, the dopamine. I was chasing the dopamine is what I was doing. And so once I got it all together and I realized that it was something that other people would want to read, I was like, okay, I can do this. And I'm pretty sure I can do it myself. So I started in 2022. I taught myself how to use Canva, and now I'm really good at it. I got on social media. I hate social media, but unfortunately, if you're self-publishing, it's a necessary evil. Book Talk is a huge community. You have to be on there. You have to be frequently posting your content and keeping people up to date with what you're doing, what's currently out. Do you have any promos going on? There is so much to being a self-published author, but I kind of love the control. And you wouldn't have that with traditional publishing. I can create my covers. I can create my character illustrations. I can choose what I want my bookmarks and my stickers to look like. I determine when I'm releasing the book. I pick my editors. I pick whatever I'm going to use. It's all on me. Now that also means that I'm advertising and I'm doing the marketing and I'm doing the budgeting and I'm tracking the finances and I'm filing, you're doing all of that for yourself, which that's fine for me because I like to multitask. It's not for everybody. And there are times where you run into, and you'll hear it a lot once you get started writing or publishing, imposter syndrome. I have 5 books published and I still run into it as I'm going. I'm like, is this any good? And you kind of have to find people that'll feed into that. And that's where critique groups and alpha and beta readers come to play. There's ARC readers too, once your manuscript is done and it's been edited and you're ready to share it with people so that they can give you either realistic, positive, and critical feedback that you can utilize, and maybe they're going to give a review after it's already published. Depends on what you do. I don't do ARC readers just because there's so much piracy going on. A lot of people like advanced reader copies. If I'm going to send out an advanced reader copy, I do it in an actual physical copy of the book. Because all the people that are sending out digital copies of their ebooks to advanced readers say, and I would never do this many, that's just me, I'm paranoid, they're sending 200, 250 copies out in the world for advanced readers. That's awesome. 35 people in that group may not be in it for the right reason, and the next thing you know, your book is on a pirating website. And where that is bad is with Kindle Unlimited. If you're in the Unlimited program, you solely can have your ebook with Amazon, nowhere else. Now you can put your print books wherever you want, but the ebooks can only be with Amazon, and if they find it on pirating websites, they will shut your author account down. So you have to be careful. And that's where there's another website called Muso that you can use. It's got a fee, and they'll track for pirating websites, but it's still up to you to send I never say the acronym right, I always get my letters mixed up. Is it DCMA? No, DMCA, yeah, the DMCA request for getting those pirated sites to take it down. So it's basically some paperwork with some legal jargon saying, hey, you're infringing on my copyright, this is my stuff, take it down off your site. Not all of them will. You can get it taken off of 17 and it'll pop up on 25 more. So there are some horror stories, but it's an enjoyable process. And if you've got, and I call it vanity, if you've got the vanity and you know your work is worth it, see it through to the end, there's resources out there, free ones, paid ones, however you want to do this process. There's no wrong way to self-publish. Do it. 3% of people actually finish a manuscript and publish. So you might be able to say that you're part of that 3%.
Thank you for sharing. So another thing I wanted to kind of add to that about your beta readers. So one thing that I do is I kind of have like a small group of people, and it's just like they are in my beta reader group circle. So people who I'm familiar with, so that I'm not sharing it with just a bunch of random strangers. So like anytime I have a book available that I'm working on, it's a advanced reader copy or it's a rough draft, I will send it to those selective few people. And sometimes they will get like a physical copy, or they will get a digital copy, and it would be through their Gmail. So someone who I know personally, people that's in my group.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have anything else that we want to add? Anyone else want to share anything? Well, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and thanks again to the TrueLit event planners for having me.